Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday from Arnie's. Happy birthday to you.
This is Alan Karpick with Jane Schott, our Arnie's birthday Zoom, and a treat. It's always good to spend time with Jane because Jane is, and I've known her for years, is one of the most positive, constructive people you'll ever meet. So I promise you after this is over, and this is putting pressure on you, Jane, on your birthday, you're going to feel better if you watch this interview with Jane in terms of what she brings to the table. She does so much, not only in schools. Purdue Athletics has been involved with Purdue women's basketball. She needs no introduction, but she obviously played and came to Purdue in 1988 to 92, and has served also with, as you've heard her many, many times, Purdue women's basketball broadcast with Tim Newton. She makes Tim look good. And she's been
I say it the other way around, but keep on going.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
And it's great to have you on this show, and yet this is a big day. Every Cinco de Mayo, yes, but Jane Schott birthday is really important.
There's always a party on my birthday, so no matter what, I can find somebody to celebrate with if I like.
Yeah, I have a sense you'll be able to do that. Now you have, I always ask birthday traditions growing up or with your family. Currently, what has been the story of your birthday? And you came from Tipton, but did you grow up in Tipton all the way?
Yeah.
Okay,
yep.
from the start.
Tipton to Purdue was my path. Yeah. And then I went to Glenbrook North and taught up in North Shore, Chicago for 3 years and came back, and I've been here ever since. So for sure, Lafayette has been my home longer in my lifetime than Tipton, but so many great memories of that small town life that we were able to live. And our birthdays, were revolved. I was the youngest of 4 kids. So, and my mom was an amazing cook who always made our homemade birthday cakes. And so you got to pick your flavor. And that was a big deal because, you get to choose what we're eating that night. And that it doesn't always happen as the youngest of 4. So that was always fun, getting our families together. And we try to, I think now in my family, we try to do some of the same traditions. What's your cake? What do you want? Where do you want to eat? And just try to celebrate the person. And I felt very blessed that I felt that way as a kid growing up. So
in a family, you're a woman of action, and I'm going to guess you were as a kid. There probably weren't a lot of people sitting still. I mean, you had with 4 siblings, there was action in the Calhoun household. So, sure. That was always part of that. In May, you were still in school. So that was part of it too. Not playing basketball, but did you play fall or spring sports?
Yeah, I was a 3-sport athlete, played volleyball, basketball, and track and field. And you're absolutely right. Our neighborhood was awesome. We had lots of kids running around, bikes, and doing all kinds of games, football, baseball, basketball, whatever the game was. And I just had an older brother that I hung around probably more with his pals than anybody, just because there was always a game going on, and I like to do that. So a lot of my success and eventually going to Purdue to play basketball, I credit my family, because I was raised in an environment that just naturally helped me develop and become the player that I was. So kudos to my siblings to get me to that point.
How did you tell us about your recruiting story? Lynn Dunn would have been the coach at the time. You were an Indiana All-Star. That's the picture we're going to run of you in this story. How did you obviously, being from Tipton, you've heard of Purdue growing up and all that, but tell me about how that came about. I always like to hear the recruiting story of what got you to West Lafayette.
Yeah, my brother and my dad are graduates. So, and with it being an hour away, there was always a little bit of interest. And I came to camp and got to know the coaches when I was a sophomore, and I really liked that. And so that kind of started it with, and it was actually Dr. Jones. Dr. Ruth Jones was one of my first recruiting calls. And this is going to date me, because she calls on the phone and we have one phone in the house. I mean, that's how different life was back then. And so I remember going downstairs, and she called late at night, like it was 9:30. I was already upstairs kind of getting, and I remember being so excited that, oh my gosh, I'm going to talk with her. So that was a big deal. And that set in my mind, probably, even though a lot of other schools came in, And I actually, odd recruiting story, I almost went to Rutgers. I had in my mind committed to Rutgers. I was going to go out east, and they were a top 10 school at the time, and Purdue was good, but they weren't in that category. And I actually called 2 other schools and told them I was going to Rutgers, and we had a freak kind of accident in our town with some power lines, and I couldn't get a hold of the other 3. And overnight, after I said it out loud, I think is when I really started to think about, what am I doing? Why am I going out? I'm such a family person. We have a great university with good basketball here. All these things just started to weigh heavily on me. And I remember I asked my high school basketball coach to meet me early in the morning at school, and we sat and talked it out. And by the time we got done, I wasn't going to Rutgers anymore. And I called and I decided to go to Purdue, and it was the best choice of my life for so many reasons. It was a great fit for me, and I loved all of my time together. And it's where I met my husband, Tom. And so I'm just feel thankful that maybe God intervened a little bit and said, no, don't make this mistake, go somewhere else. So.
Yeah, there was some transition because you went from Dr. Ruth Jones, Marcia Reel was there for a year, and then obviously Lynn Dunn. What did you learn? I mean, you were part of a resurgence of a program that yes, it was starting to move up under Dr. Jones, and then and in Marcia's year, but then it really got to a national level. What was your takeaway from that? I mean, you got some very talented players around you. You played a key role in playing in the 120 games over the years, but tell us about that.
Is the perfect storm. And that is, one, the assistants that were there at the time, Tom Collin and Gail Gestencourse, 2 great coaches in their own right, were perfect complements to Lynn Dunn. And Lynn didn't recruit me. Coach Dunn, we were freshmen together at Purdue, right? So she, Marcia Reel was relieved of her duties, and I was on a recruiting, or an AAU tournament with Terry Morin. We were driving back from an AAU tournament together, and both of us being Purdue. And that's when we found out our new coach. We'd never heard of her. She's from Miami, didn't know anything about her. But the thing that I feel like really was the perfect storm was she was a perfect coach for the type of people that were there. She was more like Dr. Jones. So the older people that were there, were used to being coached by somebody fiery and, passionate, gonna yell at you, but also love on you and all those great, all those things. So that's what she came with. So it was a better fit. The people that had been recruited by Tom and Gail, they were assistants under Marcia. And they did a terrific job of getting the best players in Indiana to stay. So all of that blended together to Coach Dunn coming in with a vision of making this a national program and not just being, in the Big Ten competitive, but nationally ranked. And I was lucky because great players, Joy Holmes, Michelle Joseph, all those people, Donna Gill, they made our team elevate. And I was along for the ride and thrilled to be there. And we had a great time. So it's kind of a unique situation. A lot of times if a coach is going to be coming in new, players will bolt. Well, for me, it was actually better that Coach Dunn came in because she was more my type of coach. And I was thankful that all that kind of happened.
Yeah, and you had some great success and became a Big Ten champion program as well. And that was looking back, the start of something big in a big run. Now, your role as an analyst on the radio broadcast, and obviously you've been doing that. We talked about since full time since 1997. We thought you started in 1995, but you were part of two national championship games, one national championship. That excitement and where that program has been is something that's forever on the minds of longtime Purdue fans.
Oh, for sure. And that's, it's but such a joy to be able to still be involved with the program and give back in a way that I can. So I loved working with Tim Newton, just watching the program, go through what it's done and becoming nationally prominent was wonderful to be a part of as a player. And then I got to continue on seeing it go to the next level, because even though we were the beginning, we got to have a Big Ten championship banner hung. We made it to the Elite Eight and we had great seasons. We never got to that Final Four. So watching that transpire from the sidelines has been a terrific experience.
Yeah, and that some magical times, and you've watched the program evolve. It's going to make a big change. Sharon Versup's going to hand the reins off to Katie Geralds. You saw Katie Geralds play, and you know basketball because you've been coaching basketball for a very, very long time. Tell me what Purdue fans can expect from Katie Geralds, and maybe also in that transition and how Sharon will be able to work that here in this season.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, Sharon was a senior when I was a freshman. I never played. I played 5 minutes with her because I actually broke my foot in the first ever game that I played in. She passed the ball to me for my first basket. Backpedaling on defense, I changed directions and I broke my foot, and I never played the rest of that year. She, I think, is a very good coach in terms of preparation and doing all these things that gets players in the right spots. And I think that will be beneficial for Katie. And I can see that transition being really beautiful because all the experience that Sharon has, she can impart upon a young coach. Now, Katie's been coaching a while, but it's also watching her evolve into a more seasoned veteran coach. And especially in the Big Ten, it's going to be a step up, level up. The thing that I think Katie brings is that she, at Marion, not only did she coach at a championship level, but she brought kids there that I think would normally traditionally go to Division I programs, and she was able to convince them to stay in Indianapolis or come to and compete for national championships. So I believe she's going to be great at doing that. She's got all of those personality type things that gets players to buy in, to be motivated, and all those things. So I think it's a great fit for both sides, and I'm excited for this season and then for what's going to go on afterwards.
Yeah, she's going to she's certainly a basketball person with a great basketball pedigree in terms of her ability. All right, you are the world's greatest science teacher. My 2 children can attest to that. I know you don't like to hear that, so I promise not to embarrass people on this. But you have been doing that for a long time, and not only chemistry, which amazes me that anybody can teach that as well as you do, and science as well. This has been a crazy year. I mean, for everyone in the world, pandemic aside, not aside, but pandemic being a part of this, a big part of it. What have you learned from watching from the academic side? You obviously teach at West Lafayette High School, where a lot of kids go on to bigger and better things academically. What's been your takeaway? What have you learned from watching and dealing with this environment here?
Yeah, well, the first thing is how resilient people are. I mean, and just in terms of we're an amazing human race for sure. And I think that, when I watch my kids, my students, and I watch all my colleagues, my teacher, who are being asked to do things, differently, do more. As teachers, we were really taxed with figuring out how do you take care of, for West Lafayette, we were fortunate. I'm going to say fortunate, it was more work, but it was fortunate that we were able to have kids in our building. So, we have 70%, 65-70% of our students came back full time on site. So we are working through dealing with them a little bit different. You had to try to keep them spaced as best possible, all the things that we had to do. But then we also have a core of kids that stayed home and are virtual. Yeah. Teaching both, and side by side, trying to figure out how to give those virtual kids the same experience. And that's been a huge challenge. So watching my colleagues and work with people, there's some amazing people that I get to work alongside of who have helped me tremendously. We've helped each other figure out what's the best way to do this. How can we help our students? All those things. So I've been really encouraged. I'm super excited about what next year is going to look like because of all the things that we were forced to learn and do at a tough time, because that's what you just had to do. And then see how that's going to change our teaching and our lives going forward. I'm really excited about that because I think there's been some great thing that's been going on here for sure.
Well, and you also had the I don't want to say pleasure because it was difficult, but coaching girls basketball at West Side during a pandemic, and then also your role as an assistant athletic director. You didn't have the daily testing or the ability to monitor like they do it in Division I sports or really in college sports in general. That had to have been an interesting experience just to be able to get through a season.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with that, Alan, was that the uncertainty. Now, not that testing gives you complete certainty, but it gives you more than what we were dealing with. we're doing the best that we could do with the information that we had in this moment. And so thankfully our student athletes complied. Our coaches were tremendous in following protocols, and our parents supported what we were trying to do. And there were hiccups along the way with every team, shutdowns, some really tough ones because people missing a sectional or things like that. It was really hard, but that's the resiliency part that I talked about in the beginning. We just kept going. Everybody just kept going. Find a way to give these kids a little bit of normalcy. And for me as a basketball coach, I did not think we would get through basketball. There's no way. I'm watching the fall and I'm thinking, well, it's inside. We're touching each other a lot more than the fall sports maybe do. Yeah. And it's flu season. We are never going to get through this, is what I thought in the beginning. But then as we got closer and closer and we kept finding a way, I was super encouraged. And my team, we were able to play most of our games. And the most normal part of every day, Alan, was going to practice. All our coaches had masks on, but our kids got to play without masks. And I could see their face. I could see their joy, the pain, the all the things that you miss about. That's why I miss face. Yeah. I was thankful to be able to see their faces for 2 hours a day. And so it was all in all, a terrific, successful endeavor.
Yeah. Sons, August and Sam, we're going to treat their mom right, I'm sure today. August is you said about to graduate from Purdue, or he's got to still have a year left?
No, August is graduating at the end of the summer with a degree in education. And he's probably like a lot of graduates trying to figure out what's his next step. And so he's got some options, and we expect he'll figure that out here in the next month or whatever. But all good options, something with teaching maybe, or not athletic training, but being a personal trainer, something like that. He loves sports, he loves people, and so I think he'll find his niche and figure out what to do next. He might go to grad school. He's kicked around that as well. So.
And Sam, going off, your senior graduate from high school, going off to Illinois Wesleyan, it's not possible. I know you say that to yourself probably on a daily basis, but another very accomplished young man that's got a bright future.
We're so excited for his next step. Sometimes being the younger sibling, I know this, you're in the shadows of the older people, and for him to find his path has been just terrific to watch him emerge into who he has become as a young man. And going to Illinois Wesleyan to study actuarial science. He's been a math guy his whole life, so I'm happy that he's found something he's a little passionate about. And it'll be fun watching him. Illinois Wesleyan's a great little campus. They got great athletics, so it'll be fun watching him find his way on the football field. So Tom and I are just excited to be, to go on that ride with him a little bit. It'll be fun.
Oh, I'm sure. And I here's to a day of celebration of mom on the birthday. I know you're going to get it in one form or another. I know you probably have knowing you're probably booked solid from after school with whether it be baseball with Sam or athletic duties. But I hope you get time to enjoy this big day. And we so appreciate you taking the time. And yes, I feel I've got more energized now after talking. So I'm ready to go take on the rest of the day. So Jane, have a great rest of the day. Best to you and your family. And we appreciate you being a part of our Arni's Birthday Zoom.
Thanks, Alan. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I appreciate you making me feel a little special today.
All right. Take care. Thank you.